90% of people with plantar fasciitis are doing this wrong. They are making these footwear mistakes that are preventing them from resolving their PF. In this video, I will share with you the most damaging features in footwear that could be causing your foot and heel pain. Also, a little later in the video, I will share the top shoe brands to choose to fix your PF and the ones to avoid, and some of these may surprise you. I'm Dr. Angela, and I'm the Plantar Fasciitis Doc, and I'm all about helping you resolve PF at home. Now, let's get into it. Here's a bold statement. The number one cause of PF is wearing the wrong shoes. And it's not your fault. Most people are following recommendations from your foot practitioner, or you're falling into marketing traps that claim to have the best shoes to fix your feet. Unfortunately, most of the shoe brands that claim to be your PF solution are actually making your problem worse. Brands such as Kuru, Hoka's, New Balance, Brooks, UFOs, all of these shoes have damaging features that are sabotaging your progress. Step number one in my program is to transition to functional footwear. So what exactly is that? It's a shoe that supports the natural shape of your feet. Our feet are not shaped like this. Our feet are actually widest at the toe and not tapered. Shoes that are foot-shaped have features that include a wide toe box and no elevation of the heel, also called zero drop. Unfortunately, the majority of conventional footwear has toe boxes that squeeze your toes together and elevates the heel above the forefoot. This combination of design features begins to alter the shape of your foot over time and weakens the intrinsic muscles of your feet, which I like to call your foot core. Let's begin by digging into each of these damaging features in your shoes that are causing your feet to become weak and painful. The number one most damaging feature is a narrow or tapered toe box. And I'm not just referring to women's high heels. This applies to men's shoes, casual shoes, and even running shoes. When we cram our feet and toes into footwear with narrow toe boxes, our feet cannot function normally and over time begin to weaken and atrophy. To function optimally, our feet and toes should spread and splay wide at the forefoot when we walk and run. If this action is interrupted, it robs our feet of normal function and our feet get weak. And this leads to PF and many other foot conditions such as bunions, hammer toes, and neuromas. It turns out that most everybody has a weak foot core, and it's almost entirely due to the compression of our toes from wearing footwear that tapers at the toe. The intrinsic muscles of the foot, your arch muscles, basically shut down, and your foot will lose its ability to absorb shock. Can you see how this would be a problem? We want a shoe that is widest at the toe to encourage natural toe splay and spreading of the toes. I have an approved shoe list with the shoes that I approve and recommend for PF. Put the word shoes in the comments and I'll be sure you get a copy of that. Just to be clear, when I recommend wide toe-box shoes, I'm not referring to a wide shoe. That's different. I recently had a patient explain to me that she bought a pair of Hoka's in wide width and wanted to know if I approved of them. A wide width shoe is widest throughout the shoe and wider at the forefoot or the ball of the foot, but they are not widest at the toe. Want to know how to test and see if your shoes are wide enough at the toe? Take the insole out of your shoes. Stand on it, and if any part of your feet and toes extend over that insert, that shoe is contributing to your PF. What shoes are you currently wearing? I'm just curious. Put your answer in the comments below. The second damaging feature is an elevated heel. Elevation of the heel in footwear is an incredibly damaging characteristic. When we think of a higher heel, we think of women's high heels, but any shoe that places your heel higher than your forefoot is a high heel. Almost every conventional shoe has an elevated heel, even men's shoes and running shoes. You would think that if shoe designers added this feature, there would be some solid evidence to support the presence, but there is none. Having an elevated heel in footwear is like standing on a ramp all day, and it has negative effects on our feet, calf muscles, ankles, knees, and even our posture. Most people with plantar fasciitis have been told to get a pair of Hoka's, New Balance, Brooks. All of these brands have an elevated heel. Some of them have 4 or 5 millimeters, but many of them have 8 to 10 millimeters, which is the industry standard. Standing on a ramp all day has consequences. Here's what happens. Number one is it causes a chronic shortening of our heel cord. Our heel cord includes our calf muscle group, the gastrocnemius, soleus, and Achilles tendon. When the calf group is constantly shortened by heel elevation, it leads to chronically tight calf muscles, a stiff and rigid Achilles tendon, and limited ankle mobility. I'm sure you have heard that tight calf muscles can lead to PF, and this is one of the most common causes of inflexibility in your calf muscles. It also leads to limited ankle mobility. When our ankle mobility is restricted, it forces our arches to collapse and encourages overpronation. This places excessive stress on the plantar fascia, which is the bottom of our foot. Number two, elevation in footwear also causes excessive stress on the forefoot. Because the foot is continually placed in a downward angle, every step places perpetual stress on the ball of the foot. This repetitive stress can lead to other foot conditions such as metatarsalgia, which is pain in the ball of the foot, and neuromas. It also alters our normal posture. Elevation in footwear alters the center of mass and increases pelvic tilt. This places added vertical forces and more stress on your joints. It tilts our pelvis anteriorly, which reduces glute activation and shifts more load to our knee joints. The end result of this altered posture is tight ankles, overloaded knees, and back pain. This might be getting a bit technical, but I think it's important for you to understand how this feature affects us biomechanically. So, the takeaway, any degree of heel elevation built into your shoe only serves to destabilize your foot muscles, shorten the heel cord, alter posture, and is detrimental to your overall health and function of the foot and lower leg. The solution is to wear footwear with zero drop. That is the term used to describe a completely flat sole from heel to toe. When a shoe has zero drop, it distributes our body weight evenly across the foot and encourages natural arch support. The third damaging feature is excessive stack height. Stack height refers to the total amount of material or cushioning on the sole of the shoe. You may have noticed that one of the newest trends in running shoes and even flip-flops is thick, heavy cushioning. Brands like Hoka's, New Balance, Brooks, UFOs, they may seem to be a good option because they look so comfortable. However, the thicker the cushion is below the foot, the less your foot can move properly, and it actually hinders your normal shock absorption, which can lead to more injuries. Now, I'm not opposed to a moderate amount of stack height in the early phase of PF, but the excessive stack height is unnecessary and can hinder your progress. If you are new to my program, I recommend a transitional shoe. A transitional shoe is a shoe that has all the characteristics of a barefoot shoe, such as zero drop and a wide toe box, but has a thicker sole or higher stack height. In my program, the ultimate goal is to transition fully to barefoot or minimalist footwear. However, I recommend a transitional shoe before you shift completely to a barefoot shoe. A barefoot or minimalist shoe has very little stack height and can be uncomfortable when you're in a lot of pain. It takes time to train your feet to wear barefoot shoes. Our feet will accept this new concept more readily if you have been focusing on the strengthening and mobility protocols in my program. If you want a copy of my complete roadmap to resolve PF at home, put the word guide in the comments and I will be sure you get a copy of that. Another damaging feature is toe spring. Toe spring is the upward angle of the toe of the shoe and should be avoided. A flat sole is ideal for proper foot function. You will find a slight amount of toe spring in a transitional shoe, but as your feet become stronger, I recommend a shoe with no toe spring. There is a condition involving limited movement of your big toe called hallux limitus or hallux rigidus. In this case, a rocker toe or toe spring could be helpful. Another damaging feature is built-in arch supports and anti-pronation technology. I'm sure you've seen this feature in running shoes, Birkenstocks, Bionics, and UFOs. Unfortunately, using any type of arch support or orthotics long-term weakens your feet over time and contributes to your PF. When you support and lift up your arches in this way, you are not allowing your feet to function as they should. This type of support in the early phase of PF can be helpful. However, wearing them beyond that is detrimental to your recovery. The less technology a shoe has, the better it is for your foot. The more a shoe externally supports the feet, the less internal strength your feet develop. The feet actually become dependent on supportive shoes and orthotics. Is this all making sense? I hope so. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to share examples of the brands that I recommend for plantar fasciitis that meet the criteria for functional footwear. The transitional brands that I recommend are Ultras, Topo Athletic, and Flux Footwear. These shoes are widest at the toe and zero drop and have a moderate amount of cushioning. These Ultras are a good example of a transitional shoe. This is the Rivera. It has 28 millimeter stack height. This is the Escalante, one of the most popular for runners, and it has 24 millimeter stack. These are also Ultras and have less stack height. This is the Solstice, and this is the Superior. The stack height is around 21 or 22 millimeters, and I play pickleball in both of these. The minimalist shoes I recommend are Zero Shoes, Limbs, Vivo Barefoot, and there are some other inexpensive brands on Amazon like Witten's or Hobie Bear. The white ones are Hobie Bear. You can see how these shoes are widest at the toe and zero drop and have minimal stack height. Another important consideration is the importance of a slow, gradual approach to transitioning into functional footwear. I recommend using a slow, progressive approach called microdosing. Microdosing is essentially taking small steps toward adapting to footwear with less stack height and zero drop. Our foot muscles can become sore from activating weakened foot muscles wearing wide toe box shoes for the first time. Our calf and Achilles can react to zero drop shoes, especially if you have been in a shoe with a higher heel elevation like 8, 10, or even 12 millimeters. Start slowly and wear your new shoes for only 15 to 20 minutes at a time. Slowly increase wear time each week as your feet adapt to the changes. After a couple of months of wearing transitional shoes and being active with my protocol, I recommend you begin to introduce your feet to minimalist footwear. I know how painful this condition can be, especially in the morning. I shot another video that demonstrates a few warm-up strategies to perform in the morning to relieve that debilitating morning heel pain. Watch that video next. I'll see you there.